It sounds silly. I met a guy who was a virgin.
In the joint?
He went to prison a virgin, still a virgin, never had sex with a female. He was serving, 30 years.
No way. Disenfranchised and discarded and stigmatized. Like, these are people trying to redeem themselves, even if it's not to become productive members of society, just before God. I think there's so many people, where it's like, let them die in jail type of attitude, just don't agree with that.
Man, I don't love you because I don't love me, and if I love you, that means I have to deal with the real me. Tears, my wife looking at me, I'm like,
well, did I walk away from those situations crying?
Let's go. One of my favorite people, Juan Dirte, the fifth. I look up to your work because I feel like everything's pure. We were just talking about the prison workshop, and we did challenge day in the prison. It was intimidating, and it was the first time it's ever. All families could come in, real meals. They had, when you got there, like old inmates were like waiters, like, here you go, here's your coffee, real coffee. And it was life-changing, but it was real.
Yeah,
we're in the gates, and we get there, and I was like, I'm not going to tell them I'm a social worker. I'm not going to tell them I'm in the field. And within 2 minutes, like, Jake, what's your number? I said, nah, dude, I never been incarcerated, but people started connecting right away. And then two, they didn't tell us. I thought they were coming home. We were told they were coming home in like less than 12 months, right? Yeah. So the first guy I talked to, when you coming home, he's like, I go to parole in 2036. And I was like, he's like, I'm here for 2 homicides. And I said, I'm looking like, well, thanks, guys. You didn't now I look like an idiot,
Yeah.
But it was the most, the work we do. It was the most free work I ever did,
For sure.
Rich and everybody there, and we got to meet afterwards. But, these guys were like, there's no HIPAA and stuff. These guys were confessing, like, you could feel in their soul. Like, some of their victims, some guys weren't getting out to 24. There's another guy, I said, when are you getting out? Nate, he would always say this. He said, you know what the hardest thing to do in life is? I said, what? He's like, do the right thing. I'm like, what? And they just kept chanting these, prison
Gems.
things, these like just prison folk tales, and they're like, hey, you need to call them IPs. I said, what the hell is an IP? Like, incarcerated person. I said, hey guys, I know you killed somebody, but
right.
Are you an IP or an inmate? They're just laughing, but they did peer support.
Yeah.
And the peer support I feel like we had was way different. He's like, I did peer support last night. A guy was about to, wanted to take his own life, and I had to talk him out, and he just fought
being
2
real.
people. And I was like, wow, But no, it was definitely super life changing. I left there like high. Like, a guy cried. He was like, they don't know what I do, and he's like, when I get out, I'm going to do recovery housing. Jake, you ever thought about doing housing? I was like, yeah, but I got like over 10 of them. He's like, what? Shakes my hand. He's like, are you serious? And they find out who I am. And the one guy, Nate, he was getting out that Monday. Yeah. And he was like, how long you been locked up? And he said, 1992. And that's when I was born. I was like, he's like, I was a bad boy,
Yeah.
And just seeing people with their family heal.
Mm-hmm. How was the family handling it in the room?
Well, it's the first time they really got to be with them. They were with them all day. They could hug. They could, to certain degrees. So
super emotional, right?
Yeah, and you would think like the first time, like the first workshop we did, when Yvonne pushed me in there to do anger work, I'm like, man, they're crazy. And then they pushed me in there, and you just explode.
Yeah.
So these guys are, down for a long time.
And they did the anger work in there?
We did not do the anger work just yet because we didn't want them to get angry and go back to the yard with 2,000 inmates. So,
that makes sense.
But we got close to it. We did close, and they started admitting like violent stuff they seen.
If you really knew me.
If you really knew my family, you could see like one girl been down with a guy 15 years, and just it was the most heartbreaking thing. Just seeing those families, like, they'd never had that workshop. All pies. Because, like, how are you guys going to go back to the yard and focus? How are you going to not be angry? And then, and they were like, I think I'm going to work on it, And the guy, I remember a guy came up to me, broke prison rules. He's like, man, how you go from pretty much being a gang leader to this? And I said, oh, man, he's telling me secrets, you know? And I was like, don't tell me too much because I'm telling, But, but it was, and it was, Man, it was life changing.
Well, bro, I think, I mean, dude, you got to imagine being deprived of that kind of connection. And when you come to a point where you're like, I want to start leading a life that is real, like like the streets, it's not real. Like, it landed you there, and the pride of a man, sometimes will associate connection with something being corny.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, bro, when you're deprived of that and you finally have like sat with yourself, man, I can just thinking about being in prison. I ain't never been in prison, but I can tell you if I was isolated, I would be thinking about, man, I just want regular good relationships, bro.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I was impressed with the dudes. They were getting girlfriends left and right. There's a dude that did 30 years, right? Big Nate Dogg, and I said, I was thinking to myself, this dude is serving life, got 2 girlfriends, and these dudes out here can't get one girlfriend.
That's crazy, bro.
Player, but no, I mean to see them heal, like you've seen the hurt. Like I've been down 8 years, and you did this to me, man, and like, I mean it was real crying. It was respectful, It was
sharing remorse.
Like you could tell, like they felt bad. Like one guy was in there for 40 years for a pretty heinous crime, and he names the person. And he's like, "I'm sorry," and I'm not that. I remember there's another guy. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he reminded me of myself. He'd be like, "You're the younger me," and he's like, he was playing with me. He's like, "Yo, man, you act like you're the only person that ever bought shoes before." I said, "Motherfucker, you asked for them," And he says the saying, like, he's like, "I don't love you." He said something like, "Man, I don't love you because I don't love me, and if I love you, that means I have to deal with the real me," or something like that. And I'm just sitting there in tears. My wife looking at me. I'm like,
wow, bro.
That was deep. I left there empowered. Empowered. And Dawn was there, and it was the most life-changing, just free event. I got to do my craft,
Well, it's a ministry of presence. Shout out Shia LaBeouf, man, when he talked about that in the John Bernthal, I think, podcast. One of them, but a lot of times, for you, me, like there's certain things that are a blessing that can turn into an obligation, right? Time management, tasks, this is the job, right? And in those situations where it's just free, bro, like, I just got to be me and be present and be in my heart, and I don't got to go to the next thing. Yeah. It's just here, bro. Dude, I walk away from those situations crying every time, bro.
The connection, it was like respect, like hugs, they never, man, this guy told me a story. I remember, like, you hear people in the field, like, you hear somebody's story, might not be that bad or rough, but this guy is telling the story, and he's like, we barely got Christmas, but he's telling a terrible life upbringing with the positive, like, we weren't that bad, and then I met my dad for the first time when he was in prison serving life, so that's the first time he met his dad, and I was like, the whole family, and then his sister just died of overdose. He lost all his family in there, and he was a kid, like 32. He's been there since 14 or something like that.
Well, what else do you got, bro? You got to reframe it, or it's gonna eat you. You know what I mean? Like, we got the free will to look at things and choose our perception to some degree. Yeah. And I think it's important to. Dude, can you imagine being in jail and going through all that stuff and just holding on to the negative story behind it? Yeah. Like for years of just living in that, man, that's purgatory. Like at some point in time, you got to be like, you know what? Christmas, I got to meet my dad. That was a blessing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
it sounds silly. I met a guy who was a virgin.
In the joint?
He went to prison a virgin, still a virgin, never had sex with a female. He was serving, 30 years.
No way.
Like, that's insane.
Whoa, bro.
Like he never had any of those experiences, never went to school. It was kind of a case, and you could tell some of these had good attorneys. Like, and everybody's innocent, but to some degree, some people get railroad on stuff. But it was just, I was taking cool mugshot. Dawn I don't think she ever gave it to me.
Just crouch down.
Yeah, she showed you?
No, but I know.
I said, guys, get behind me. And I'm crouching down. And the cool thing is I'm there chilling with all the inmates. All the other, they had another group there. They're just sitting in the corner. And I'm mingling with them early morning, making fun of them. Like, man, bring me a soup. It and I wanted to come back. So like the warden came, the second director of the prison, like this has never been done.
Man, it's groundbreaking, bro.
Are they still doing it?
I know that they're doing another one. Yeah, they have another one coming. Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to organize and stuff,
yeah.
but no, they loved us. They showed us love.
Yeah. They loved Rich and Yvonne?
Loved them. You know,
Man,
Yvonne,
shout out. Yvonne.
She could pick a 400-pound male up and shake that baby.
Bro, dude.
Tears running down.
Yvonne, bro.
She was perfect. I mean, everything was just amazing, you know.
Yeah.
And we had another person there. She was incarcerated before, and then some other. I mean, it was lovely. The whole thing was amazing, you know.
Man, it's just discarded humans, bro.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like disenfranchised and discarded and stigmatized. Like, you know, these are people trying to redeem themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even if it's not to public, you know, to become productive members of society just before God, you know, to be like, yo, I need to have absolution. I need to absolve this.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it as you're talking. Like, I think there's so many people, you know, where it's like, let them die in jail type of attitude. You know, just don't agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, some people are really terrible people, but in my experience, the bulk of the people are not there. Like at my agency, I'm always like the big criminals you think you'd be scared of are the most respectful. Mm-hmm. They have your back, Mr., Mrs. This. How can we help? You know, it is the young wild ones, but you know, I feel like that's always been my focus. I feel free when I go to the prisons and jails and just the schools, give them hope.
Zone.
That's my zone, because I'm not making like money, and I'm just doing it because I truly want to see them change, you know. And I think you've done a beautiful job with Soul Path, building community stuff. You know, a lot of people be like, man, where, you know, Soul Path and all this. And I'm like, why is my friend? You know,
bro. Well, dude, it's free, right? That seems like they're like. You know, I'm not making no money. Nobody makes any money at Soul Path, you know, for the nonprofit, for the men's groups or retreats, none of that. Like, it's just a free community, you know, people, bro.
Yeah.
And that energy is real, man. When money isn't involved, it's different. It really is. We were just talking about it.
Yeah.
The spiritual energy behind money. You
Yeah.
know, the energy, of you got to acknowledge it. I do anyway.
Yeah.
You know
It's hard because you're running, you know, I got to check myself constantly. Like, is this the best thing to do? Or if you don't do this and you can't make payroll and there's taxes and it's, you know, when I got into social worker, you know, I always knew about being successful, but I felt like it's confused a lot because success is how many people you help, you know? You know, it makes you, you know, money makes you happy when you give it away, you know? So I think when you started Soul Path, you really... I think, you know, you and me both got tired of what we saw in the community, you know, terrible services, fake media presence, you know, but I've been in so many groups where they raise attention and get money and then nobody gets help.
Yeah, no quality behind it, no real intention or effort, you know. You're providing a service, you might as well be a robot, you know what I mean? It's not the move, man, at all. And the truth is, like, you don't, bro, you can help people in so many ways, bro.
Yep.
You know, in this industry, you know, that we're in when it comes to behavioral health and substance use. And, you know, it's almost like, well, if you're not seeing a therapist that's an LSW and you're talking to somebody else, then you're not getting help the same way, or just this weird comparison around what it means to love somebody. And that's what we're really talking about, is caring about people. Like, that's how you help people, is care about them.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need a license to care.
Or you don't even need a license. I mean, you know, accountants help people, business people help people, bakery. You know, there's so many ways. What drove you to? I take this. Where do you see the treatment field going to? What would you change? Would you want to see?
Dude, I personally agree. It's inconvenient for me personally, and Soul Path and what we're trying to do. It feels inconvenient, but I agree with more compliance, more regulations.
Yeah.
I think what I would like to see is that, you know, that they take a little bit more responsibility and accountability on a state level to say, you know, why don't we start an investigation team in other areas to be able to, like, actually do appropriate audits. And you know, you're putting all these restrictions and other things that are important. These people, the people that we serve and who we are, they need those services. And if you feel like people are abusing the system, then, you know, I feel like there should be more people on the ground.
Yeah, and I think they should educate. You know, the hardest part is
100%.
like, you know, one board will come. Well, how do I build this? How do I? And they're like, no, we can't tell you. And then you call this department, we can't tell you.
It's crazy.
So it's no education. So
None.
you're kind of like in a gray area, just trying to really serve people.
Right.
You know, and
Learning the hard way.
yeah, and you're put in a box, like how you got to talk. I'll give you an example. The Joint Commission comes in one day, right? And you think about a clinical note, right? One of the patients says, man, I said, my bosses are here. Go away. You're making this, you know, I'm messing around with it. I said, come on. He's like, I mean, I'll be the best reference, Jake ever. He said, man, I went from this to this. And I said, how the hell you make a clinical note out of that? Like, you know what I mean? You got to make patient presented, you know, so it's so hard, you know.
Yeah.
When you think about a patient, a person, a human coming through Soul Path, what do you want to see them? What do you want to see them do? What's the change you want to see in their lives?
Well, obviously reintegration to their family, making meaningful connections, finding some measure of purpose in their life that will continue to drive them. You know, whether that's their kids or a passion in the world, and agency, you know, high agency for them to be able to walk away and say that they know how to reach out to their relationships and supports. They know how to handle difficulties that are going to come their way.
Yeah.
You know, but independence, you know, I believe in social recovery. I think individual recovery is important. You got to have an individual-based plan. But I think that we get better together.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, I think that there's strength in numbers for real. And I see more people stay sober and stay doing well when they have a group of people around them.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see people and their families stay connected. I'd love to see clients, bro, that are doing well and getting their kids back, and then them being involved with our nonprofit, you know, and us developing kids programming and parenting programming that's not based on insurance claims and billing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just community, you know, like,
love it.
Yeah, man, let's take our kids on a camping trip, you know.
Yeah.
Soul Path Summit, something like that.
I like it. Yeah. I think that's the hard part. Like, intensive services make sense. You know, you go to the hospital, you get well, you do that. But that long term, you're kind of like, you can probably relate to your own recovery. You know, you get a year or 2 years. Sometimes you're kind of lost. People won't admit it. The mental health kicks in. Your family still don't trust you. They're questioning shit. You know, they're just waiting for you to have a bad moment.
I got something for you, man. I just had a call last night at like 11 o'clock. Somebody was talking to me, man. They're going through it. They were in treatment for a prolonged period of time, 11 months, and then they got pushed out of their housing situation and their treatment situation, right? It forced them pretty much to graduate. And the individual, you know, was institutionalized, spent 20 years in the joint, 36 years old, right? We're talking about 16, 14 years old. And like this person, there isn't a lot of money in the industry for people that are in aftercare or OP, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's the biggest need, and we all know it. Everybody it's like, well, how do you create a sustainable business around that? It's like, you know, so for Soul Path, for us, it's like, well, the community, how can we mimic that in a different way? Obviously, we can't provide the same services, but how can we offer supports? Because people need long-term care. But when you're looking at it from a business aspect, it's hard to be like, oh, well, that business is not a good business.
Yep.
You know, it's hard to maintain it or sustain it, you know, but nonetheless, the biggest need we have, transportation, housing, and ongoing services. You're going to give your heart to a therapist for 9 months, and your work's not done for 24.
Yep.
So now I got to go meet a new therapist after 9 months.
Hurts.
Yeah, and tell them the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I interviewed a psychiatrist, and he said I remember he told me the worst part about the field is re-traumatizing, because you know, you go to one place, they kick you out because you got to get the story, but to tell your story over and over. That's one thing I'm trying to work now with the documentation, the scales, like not having to ask them, because, you know, they might not be ready.
Right.
They might not be ready. And that's traumatizing. To us, you know, it's normal to share stuff, and you know, but somebody for the first time, you can see in their face, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it is 100%. I mean, we're really blessed that I'm super fortunate that when I retell the story that it doesn't affect me the way that I see it affects other people. But that took a lot of time.
Yeah.
You know, it took time.
When did you know you were going to take this challenge on, you know? Did it come from your own work with your own beautiful family? Did it come from a bigger mission? How did this whole thing happen?
I mean, I love helping people. You know that. I mean, when I was a small kid, when I'm in school, it's 4 Challenge Day. You know, I talk about that. When I was 4, I knew I wanted to help people.
Oh, wow.
But as far as like Soul Path or like an organization like that, I mean, it started when I was a part of other organizations when I first got sober. You know, I love community, and it's what makes sense. I don't got to think about it. You know, I don't got to plan that or think about it. It just makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
It'd be like a mathematician that just, you can throw 3 million times 27.3, what's a number? And they're like, I got it. You know, community for me, it just makes sense.
Yeah, no, you are a beast.
You know?
You are a beast, I think. Well, you bring that nucleus, you know, you bring everything, you show what's possible. You know, I've seen, you know, I'm so proud. I've been blessed to see the transformation in your family.
We've been through it.
You know, we went through, I think one of the hardest challenges.
Our whole families, both of our families went through it.
Yeah, I know. My friends are on the floor crying. I said, whoa. I'm just supposed to speak here. You know, I was dying, man. We went on a journey. And then I didn't even know you worked in the field. I remember you called me about KPR. I said, how the hell does Juan know? I said, you're doing all this? You know, but it's always been beautiful because we just been friends, you know.
Yeah.
And I think...
we've had a personal friendship.
Yeah.
That's rare, bro.
Yeah.
That's rare.
You know, I think I wish you the best. We should have, you know, we talked an hour before this, probably should have recorded some stuff, but you know, what's next, you know?
I mean, continuing to stabilize the community that we currently have. We have the Lions Den, a men's group, men's programming, Rooted women's programming, the Friday Night Fire community, you know, meeting and support group, and we have our retreats for men, women. So from the nonprofit standpoint, we're developing a program that is co-ed called Aligned Men and Women. I'm learning how to be in a healthy relationship with one another and just have dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, and we're also expanding on our events, and we're going to be moving into a space where we're doing more one-on-one mentorship and life coaching. You know, hoping Mitch, fingers crossed, Mitch, if you see this, come
his
on.
middle name is Life Coach.
Yeah, Mitch Life Coach McVicker. But then we got the treatment center, you know, Soul Path Recovery Center, you know, small outpatient. So yeah, that's coming up, bro. But aside from all that, man, I'm just trying to being busy. I'm super busy, so I want to figure out how to. What's next is slowing down so I can be more present with my family and my friendships. You know, I'm not sure when that'll be because I'm grinding, but
it's hard.
Yeah,
you know, mission. It's hard. It's hard. You know, well, I'm proud of you. Love you.
You too, bro.
You know, we should do this more often. So
let's do it, bro.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.